My name is Audrey Salber, and today me and my partner are going to be giving a virtual tour over the Pacific Northwest region of the United States. In this presentation, we are going to be focusing on the Cascade volcanoes in the national parks in this area. I hope you enjoy. The first topic that we will be going over is the Cascade volcanoes. So a quick overview of what I will be covering in this presentation is the history of the Cascade volcano arc. This will be going over its history, looking at where they are located and how they came to be. After that, I will be doing a closer look at Mount St. Helens volcano in Washington State, the Lava Butte in Oregon, and Mount Shasta in California. The Cascade volcanoes are a volcanic arc of around 20 major volcanoes in the Pacific Northwest region of the United States and the southern western portion of Canada. So the Cascade volcanoes are actually a part of the Pacific Ring of Fire, which stretches all around the Pacific Ocean. There are actually over 2,900 volcanic vents in this mountain range. This includes activities such as shield volcanoes, lava domes, and stratovolcanoes. This region is home to volcanoes such as Mount St. Helens, Mount Baker, and Mount Hood. On the picture there, you can see several of the different major volcanoes in this region. There have been 7 eruptions in this area since the 1700s, and the most recent has been Mount St. Helens in 1980. The Cascade volcanic arc can be found in Northern California, Oregon, Washington State, and southern British Columbia in Canada. This range stretches over 700 to 800 miles and is nearby many popular cities such as Seattle, Vancouver, Portland, and Tacoma. This can add extra stress for scientists because there is a rapid concern about the proximity of these populous cities if any of these volcanoes were to erupt. Volcanic activity began around 37 million years ago in the Cascade volcanic arc. However, many of the volcanoes are still less than 2 million years old. Some of the most famous past eruptions that have caused some of the most damage in U.S. history are in 1781, Mount Hood. There was a lot of volcanic mud flow that came from this, and it caused a lot of destruction. In 1843, Mount Baker exploded and created a significant ashfall around the surrounding areas. And of course, in 1980, Mount St. Helens erupted. This led to a large eruption and actually a collapse of part of the mountain, which you can actually see in the picture here. The formation of the Cascade volcanic arc is actually a result of subduction. So the Juan de Fuca plate is actually sinking under the North American plate where it converges right off the coast of the Pacific Ocean. And this can also result in a lot of large and frequent earthquakes in that area, along with being the cause of the lava flow in the area. So I decided to pick a volcano from each of the 3 states in the Pacific Northwest region to take a closer look at. The first one I chose was Mount St. Helens in Washington State. So Mount St. Helens is a stratovolcano, and before its eruption in 1980, it was actually a conical volcano, but after the eruption, it caused a 1,300-foot collapse in debris in an avalanche, and it created a large crater in the middle of the volcano, which you will see on the next slide, the before and after of this effect. Mount St. Helens is also the most active volcano in the Cascade Range, and it is the most recently active as well. This volcano lies very close to the cities of Vancouver and Olympia in Washington, which is a little bit concerning since it is so active. So this is the before and after of Mount St. Helens in 1980. There was not a picture on Google Earth because it only went back to 1984. So I found the other picture of it before when it was a more conical shape. The second place I'm going to take a deeper dive into is the Lava Butte in Oregon. So this is a shield volcano, and it is a little less common than some of the other major volcanoes in this area. So the Lava Butte is an example of one of the many volcanic vents in this region, but it has not erupted in the past 10,000 years, so most people think of it as extinct. It is a popular tourist location in Oregon, and you can hike around it and down into the center of the crater. And finally, we have Mount Shasta in California. So Mount Shasta is a stratovolcano similar to Mount St. Helens. It is also a popular tourist location in Northern California. It's located at the very south end of the Cascade Volcanic Arc, since it is in Northern California. A little bit of history: it was actually formed on top of a collapsed volcano nearly 300 to 500,000 years ago. Scientists have found that on average it erupts every 600 to 800 years, and it is actually considered to be a very high threat potential for the Cascade Volcanic Arc in this area. I am now going to hand over the presentation to my partner so that they can talk about the national parks of the Pacific Northwest region.
Hello everyone, the Pacific Northwest Trail is an ultra-long trail. It can traverse some of the most spectacular and diverse landscapes in the United States. It winds along the Canadian border, traversing the mountains and canyons of Montana, Idaho, and Washington until it meets the Pacific Ocean. The trail is more than 1,900 kilometers in length and can be called a wide miracle, leading hikers through one of the few island temperate forests in the United States. Today, I will use Google Earth to explore this Pacific Northwest Trail and learn about several important national forest parks and the stories of animal protection behind this trail. Let me first show you the approximate location of this trail as a whole. Please look at this picture. You can see the whole trail and its beginning and ending. Google Earth cannot fully display this trail. I will show you the starting point, ending point, and direction of this trail. Please follow my mouse. This trail passes through 3 national parks, 7 U.S. national forests, and several mountains. Moreover, this trail traverses the habitats of endangered animals such as grizzlies and caribou, which puts experts such as zoologists and economists in a dilemma. Because the Pacific Northwest Trail threatens the hosts of endangered grizzly bears and other wild animals, it also threatens the indigenous traditions of the area. But on the other hand, for a few locals, this trail is their only source of income. The eastern end of the Pacific Northwest Trail is located in Glacier Mountain Park in Montana. Here, hikers can experience glacier-covered virgin forests, alpine meadows, rugged mountains, and spectacular lakes. With more than 700 miles of trail, it is paradise for adventure-seeking wildlife and lonely hikers. There are about 80 glaciers, about 12 rocky glaciers, and many snowfields. Through Google Earth, we can see mountains and rocks covered in snow and ice, and we can also see several lakes and exposed red rock mass. The rocks found in a park are primarily sedimentary rocks of the bed supergroup. The rocks in Glacier National Park are the best preserved sedimentary rocks in the world. The rock in the park retains the characteristics of stakes, rifts, and other sedimentary bedding. Zoom in and show you the rocks. Chief Mountain is an isolated peak on the east boundary of the park. Its shape is inverted, which is very spectacular. The current shape of the Lewis and Livingston Mountains and the location and size of the lakes show clear evidence of large-scale glacial activity, which carved U-shaped valley and left ravines filled with water to form lakes. Large mammals such as grizzly bears, moose, and goats live in the park, and some native Indians live there. The mountain range is specifically designated as a national park, and the mountain surrender stays as a multi-purpose public land, but it also retains the right to some indigenous hunting lands. I will zoom in and take a look at the trails in the park. It's a pity that I can't see the trail in the forest, but I have seen that the trail has been marked on the map. The second park is the North Coast Forest Park in Washington State, less than 3 hours away from Seattle. North Cascade National Park is named after North Cascade Range, which is part of the Cascade Range. Most of the rocks here are granite. There are more than 500 lakes and ponds, hundreds of streams, and several rivers in the park. There are also hundreds of glaciers in the parks. Meltwater from the glaciers flows into the river with fine rock particles, dyeing the water blue. From the Google Earth, we can find that the mountains here are covered by glaciers. When zooming, I will see countless cane lakes and streams embedded in the mountains, like emerald. So beautiful. Most of the mountains are covered by cedar trees. This is also a protection base for grizzly bear. Currently, about 200 grizzly bear populations here. Going further west in the end of this trail, located in the Olympic National Park on the Pacific coast. Interesting, this park is on an isolated peninsula separated from the south of the mainland by a alpine mountain range. It is also very close to Seattle and close to the Pacific Ocean. And Olympic Mountain is the highest point of the park, and its slopes and ridges are covered with huge ancient glaciers. It is formed by squeezing and uplifting of basalt and sedimentary rocks from volcanic eruption on the seafloor. It is also affected by the squeeze of the Pacific and American plates. After zooming, we can also see the glaciers and streams covered by the mountain tops. The origin of the Olympic Mountains is related to the magma and plate extraction from volcanic eruptions. We can see the coastal landscape of volcanic rocks eroded by dozens of the kilometers. This is a very peculiar landscape. There are high cliffs, tide pools, and the famous rock water in Ruby Beach, Azit Beach, and so on. This is a result of the erosion of the uplift rock by waves and wind. It is also very interesting, and although it is located at 40 point in latitude, the west of the mountain is the temperate rainforest. The area is affected by water warp from the Pacific Ocean. The annual rainfall is 12 to 14 feet. The large green canopy of conifers and deciduous trees provide suitable conditions for the prosperity animals and ferns. For example, the high rainforest on the west side of the park is a larger rainforest. The word "haw" comes from the Native American languages and means faster flowing water or snow water, indicating that it was once a native habitat. Very interesting. Let's zoom in to see the whole rainforest. Talk about the protection of grizzly bears. A 1980 report from the U.S. Forest Service stated that there was no need to build this trail, which was too expensive and too dangerous, and it posed a threat to grizzly bears. This trail to cross many forests and national parks, and there are so many exploring this trail. The local forestry bureau in Jekyll Valley has issued statement requesting that the trail must be removed due to threats to the survival of grizzly bears. Local biologists have not documented any case of trail hikers clashing with bears, nor have a group of hikers diving bear out of the area. The Pacific Northwest Trail Association is an non-profit organization responsible for maintaining and supporting existing routes. The association believes that the secure seclusion section is the most scenic section of the trail and there is no need to move. But there are also environmentalists who support the return of forests to endangered animals and plants, because human activities in the forest, whether it is logging, reclamation, or camping, have affected the lives of wild animals. Thank you for watching my introduction to the forest park on the Pacific Northwest Trail. I will also briefly talk about wildlife protection. I'm very longing to go to this forest park to watch glaciers, parks, and experience the fun of camping.